Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt that sudden, inexplicable pull? That sense that they see you, that they feel something deeper, almost as if you are more than just a person to them, but something larger, more meaningful. And then you wonder, why do people fall in love with me? Is it my personality, my smile, the way I talk or think or walk? But deep down, you feel it too. Sometimes the love people offer doesn't really feel like it's about you at all. Sometimes it feels like they're reaching for something else through you, and maybe they are. Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant psychological minds of the 20th century, would say, "You are not being loved for who you are. You are being loved for what you awaken." This idea is both beautiful and terrifying, because it means love isn't random, it isn't magic, it isn't just chemistry, it's psychology. According to Jung, love is rarely what it seems on the surface. What we think of as attraction, passion, desire, those intense magnetic feelings, are often not rooted in the reality of the person in front of us. They are rooted in the hidden architecture of our unconscious mind. Love, Jung believed, is a mirror. And when someone falls for you, they may not actually be seeing you. They are seeing a part of themselves reflected in you, a part they've forgotten, lost, denied, or deeply longed for. Invisible architecture, the blueprint of attraction. We like to romanticize love as spontaneous, like a spark that appears out of nowhere. We meet someone, they smile a certain way, say the right thing, touch a part of us that hasn't been touched in years, and suddenly, boom, we fall. But Jung would challenge that. He would say, there are no accidents when it comes to attraction. Behind every instant bond is an intricate inner system at work. That spark you felt, it didn't come out of nowhere. It was the visible expression of an invisible need. Your unconscious, shaped by childhood experiences, suppressed desires, old wounds, emotional patterns, and internal voids, was already looking for someone who carried the missing piece, the forgotten mirror, the symbol of something that lives inside you but which you have not yet become. And when you meet them, it doesn't feel logical. It doesn't feel ordinary. It feels fated. But what if that fate was really just projection? Jung's first principle of why people fall in love with you. Projection. Each of us carries fragments of ourselves that we've hidden away. Maybe we were too emotional as kids, so we learned to suppress our feelings. Maybe we were too bold, so we learned to tone it down. Maybe we were too sensitive, too dreamy, too loud, too quiet. So we pushed parts of ourselves into the shadows, but those parts didn't disappear. They waited. And then one day, someone walks into our life who embodies what we have buried. Someone free if we've felt caged. Someone bold if we've been scared. Someone grounded if we've always felt chaotic. And suddenly, we feel drawn to them in a way we cannot explain. We call it chemistry. We call it destiny. But what it really is recognition, not of the other person, but of yourself, reflected back at you. And this happens in reverse, too. Someone may fall deeply, even irrationally, in love with you, not because of your visible qualities, not because of who you truly are, but because you unknowingly carry a part of them that they lost long ago. Maybe you're kind, and they've long forgotten what kindness feels like. Maybe you're intense, and they've spent their life being emotionally numb. Maybe you're creative, and they've buried every dream they ever had. To them, you are not just a person, you are a symbol, a doorway, a fantasy that their psyche has been holding onto for years, waiting to come alive. This is the first reason people fall in love with you. You represent something they lack, not simply an opposite, not just a contrast, but a part of themselves they haven't yet fully met. The pull of the unlived self. Imagine a deeply logical, rational person. They live by plans, by order, by rules. They've never allowed themselves to feel fully. Then one day, they meet someone spontaneous, expressive, unapologetically emotional. What begins as admiration quickly turns into obsession, not because that person is perfect, but because they awaken in the side of the logical person that has been waiting silently all along. That's the pull, the emotional resonance that feels magical. But this is where the danger begins too. Because if that person doesn't recognize that what they're drawn to exists within themselves, they may begin to cling to you, not out of love, but out of need. They may become dependent. They may idealize you. They may demand that you continue playing the role of the missing piece. But people are not pieces. You are not assembled forever. You are human. And the moment your real self begins to surface, when you show your flaws, your confusion, your contradiction, their fantasy starts to break. And so does the relationship. Because no one can live up to a projection forever. The illusion of love. This is why so many intense relationships feel like fairy tales at first, and then spiral into confusion. You didn't change. They just stopped seeing the fantasy, and reality began to arrive. Jung warned that projections are powerful, but temporary. They are tools for growth, not homes to live in forever. And so, if you've ever had someone fall for you fast, deeply, irrationally, and then just as quickly grow distant or disappointed, it might not have been about you at all. It was about what they thought you represented, and that is both liberating and humbling, because it means love isn't about being more perfect, more beautiful, more impressive. It's about what you symbolize to the unconscious minds of others, and what they symbolize to yours. So far, we've uncovered the first profound reason people fall in love with you, because you symbolize something they lack. A quality, a feeling, a forgotten part of themselves. But Carl Jung went even further, deeper into the unconscious, deeper into the mythological blueprint inside every human mind. He said, there is something even more ancient than projection, a pattern of love that is archetypal, collective, inherited. He called it anima and animus. And understanding these two forces might change the way you see every relationship you've ever had. What are anima and animus? According to Jung, every man carries within his psyche a hidden image of the feminine. This is the anima, his inner woman. Likewise, every woman carries an unconscious image of the masculine, her animus. These inner images are not conscious. They are not preferences or tastes. They are ancient emotional blueprints, shaped by early experiences with caregivers, societal symbols, and generations of collective human memory. The anima and animus are not about gender identity. They are not stereotypes. They are psychological opposites, the complementary energies within us that help complete our inner world. And here's the key. When we meet someone in the external world who matches our inner image, something explosive happens. It's not attraction. It's not affection. It's something that feels like destiny. Archetypal recognition, the soul shock. You've felt it before. That moment when you meet someone and everything inside you goes quiet or wild or both. You don't know them, but it feels like you always have. They walk into a room and it's like your unconscious whispers, there you are. No amount of logic can explain the feeling. It's not their appearance, not their voice, not their words. It's their essence. Their energy matches something buried deep inside you, a sacred image your psyche has carried for years, maybe decades, waiting for someone to match it. And when that match occurs, your inner anima or animus lights up, not with fire, but with recognition. This is the second reason people fall in love with you. You awaken an archetypal image they've carried within them, and they might not even know it. Because these inner images live in the unconscious. That's why the love feels irrational, why the connection seems instant, why it feels like a movie, a fairy tale, a spiritual bond. But here's the truth. It's not about you. It's about what you represent. You're not just a person. You are a symbol in their inner world. The danger of idealization. This may sound romantic, but it's dangerous because the anima and animus are not real people. They are psychic ideals, and no one, no matter how beautiful, intelligent, or magical, can embody an ideal forever. So when someone falls in love with you because you resemble their inner feminine or masculine image, they are not seeing you. They're seeing their fantasy, their sacred projection, a character in a story that was written long before you arrived. At first, it may feel beautiful. They adore you, worship you, say things like, "You're the one," or "I've never felt this way before." But over time, as your humanity begins to emerge, your inconsistencies, your boundaries, your complexity, the illusion begins to crack. What once felt divine becomes confusing. What once felt perfect now feels ordinary. Not because you did anything wrong, but because the inner archetype they fell for is now clashing with your real self. Why passion often ends in chaos. This is why so many passionate love stories begin with fire and end in ashes. The emotional intensity wasn't based on understanding. It was based on archetypal resonance. And when the fantasy fades, people feel betrayed, not by you, but by the disappearance of their projection. They don't know how to love the real person because they were in love with a symbol, a psychological construction. They may become disappointed, distant, cold, or even cruel, not because you've changed, but because their unconscious image no longer fits. They are no longer in love with you because they were never in love with you to begin with. They were in love with the version of themselves that you awakened. What Jung would say, Jung never judged this process. He didn't say projection was bad. He saw it as necessary. Because in his view, love is not just a feeling. It's a mirror, a teaching tool, a way for the psyche to grow and integrate what is missing. Every time someone falls in love, they are being invited into transformation, to see themselves more clearly, to retrieve the qualities they've projected onto others, to grow from attraction into integration. But this only happens if they're aware. If not, they will repeat the same story. Fall in love, idealize, get disappointed, pull away, and start again. With someone new who fits the same unconscious image, a different face, same script. The loop of unconscious love. You've probably lived this loop, or been the object of someone else's projection. Maybe someone fell hard for you, too hard, too fast, told you everything they'd ever dreamed of was in you. And then slowly, it faded. They couldn't explain why. They said, you changed, but you didn't. What changed was the breakdown of their inner illusion, and you were left in the ruins of their fantasy. Or maybe you fell for someone you barely knew. You saw in them something huge, cosmic, soul-shaking. And then it didn't last, because they were never who your unconscious believed they were. It's painful, but it's not pointless, because every projection is a chance to grow, to see yourself, to reclaim your hidden parts, to become more whole. The real question. So the question isn't, why did they fall out of love with me? The question is, what part of themselves were they chasing in me? What part of me was I trying to find in them? Because in Jungian psychology, love is not just a bond between two people. It is a dialogue between two unconscious minds, each trying to become whole, each using the other as a mirror. And when you understand this, love becomes something more than romance. It becomes a path of transformation, let's be honest. At some point, it all falls apart. That breathtaking connection, that rush of chemistry, that sense of cosmic alignment, it begins to crack. The person you once saw as perfect suddenly seems different. The spark fades, the mystery dissolves, the flaws become louder than the fantasies. And you're left wondering, what happened? How can something that felt so right become so wrong? Carl Jung would offer a radical answer. What you called love was never really about them. It was a projection of your own unconscious, and now reality is asking you to wake up. The collapse of illusion. Most relationships don't fail because people change. They fail because fantasies shatter. When someone falls in love with the image of their anima or animus, when you fall in love with a version of someone that only lives in your mind, there comes a moment when the real person begins to emerge. Their contradictions, their emotional limits, their needs, wounds, past insecurities, and suddenly they no longer fit the myth. They are not the goddess, not the savior, not the twin flame. They are human, and that hurts. Not because they failed you, but because your fantasy couldn't survive their reality. But here's the brutal truth. That disillusionment is necessary. It is the psyche pulling the mask off the mirror and asking you, are you ready to love what's real? Or do you still need the dream? Why you keep attracting the same kind of love? If you've noticed a pattern, falling for emotionally unavailable people, fixers, rescuers, chaotic lovers, it's not random. It's your unconscious trying to finish a story you started long ago. Maybe in childhood, maybe in your first relationship, maybe in a time you were too young to understand what love even meant. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. You're not cursed. You're not unlucky. You're repeating a pattern. Your unconscious is trying to integrate something, trying to show you what you haven't healed, trying to wake you up. And each person you're drawn to, especially the ones who shake you to your core, is not here to complete you. They're here to reveal you, to you. From collapse to awakening. At the center of every heartbreak lies a mirror. You thought the relationship was about them, but it was really about you. What they triggered, what they reflected, what they made you feel. Joy, fear, obsession, unworthiness, elation, grief. All of it came from within. They were just the spark. You were the fire. And now that the fantasy has burned away, you're left with something far more important than love. You're left with truth. Who are you without them? What parts of yourself did you try to find through their eyes? What wounds surfaced in their absence that had nothing to do with them at all? This is the moment when many people retreat. They run to someone new, chase a new high, start a new fantasy. But those who dare to pause, who sit with the pain, who ask the deeper questions, are the ones who begin to wake up. This is the path Jung called individuation, the long sacred journey of becoming whole. Real love requires real seeing. Most people don't want love. They want emotional anesthesia. They want someone to numb the ache, to prove they're enough, to carry their pain. But no human can do that. No partner can fix what you're unwilling to face. And no love will last if it's based on a fantasy of salvation. Real love doesn't feel like a rush. It feels like presence. It doesn't intoxicate you. It stabilizes you. It doesn't steal your identity. It reflects it back to you, gently and honestly. But to experience that kind of love, you have to give up the illusion. You have to let people be who they really are. And more importantly, you have to let yourself be seen in your full imperfection. Because until you stop chasing perfection in others, you will keep being devastated by their humanity. How to stop repeating the same patterns. Let's get practical. If you want to stop being magnetically drawn to people who break you, if you want to break the loop of intense beginnings and bitter endings, you have to start by asking yourself, what is the emotional tone I associate with love? Was love safe for me growing up? Or was it conditional? Do I confuse love with adrenaline, approval, or rescue? Then ask, what am I projecting onto the people I love? Do I need them to make me feel worthy? Do I see them as saviors or guides? Do I secretly hope they will complete me? If the answer to any of those is yes, then you're not in love with them. You're in love with a part of yourself that feels incomplete. You're in love with a symbol, and that symbol cannot love you back. The real turning point here is the moment that changes everything. When you stop asking, why don't they love me the way I need? And start asking, why do I still believe I need to be loved to feel whole? That's the shift from projection to power, from need to choice, from longing to presence. Because until you meet your own needs, you will demand them from others. And love will never feel safe, only addictive. But once you begin to see yourself, once you begin to heal what's missing, once you stop looking outward and start returning inward, the pattern breaks. And for the first time, love stops being a rescue mission and becomes a shared experience between two whole people, not two wounded halves. The pain was never the problem. You might ask, if love is so psychological, so riddled with projection and illusion, then why love at all? Because the pain, the heartbreak, the disappointment, it's not meaningless. Jung believed those moments are necessary initiations. Each heartbreak cracks your ego. Each failed projection strips away illusion. Each goodbye becomes a doorway, not into loneliness, but into clarity. You were never meant to stay asleep in love. You were meant to wake up. And that's what the collapse of illusion gives you. A chance to become more conscious, to love more truthfully, to live more authentically. So here you are. You've seen the illusion. You've survived the disillusionment. You've let go, not just of a person, but of an entire story you told yourself about love. And now, the question becomes, what's left? If love is not about being completed, if others can't fix your wounds, if projection only leads to disappointment, then what does real love look like? Carl Jung offered a powerful answer. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And from that wholeness, real love begins. Wholeness is not perfection. It's integration. When Jung spoke of the self, he wasn't referring to your personality or your public identity. He meant something much deeper. The self is your totality. Not just who you present to the world, but your wounds, your gifts, your shadows, your light. It is the version of you that no longer seeks to hide, impress, or perform. It's the part of you that has faced your fears, integrated your projections, and no longer needs someone else to hold you together. From that place, love changes. It stops being a survival strategy. It becomes a conscious offering. Real love is a sharing, not a filling. When you no longer seek love to fill a void, you love very differently. You don't choose people to feel alive. You feel alive, and then you choose to share that aliveness. You don't cling. You don't beg. You don't shrink to fit inside someone else's story. You are full. And you look at another person and say, I don't need you to complete me. I want to walk beside you freely, clearly, without masks. This kind of love doesn't come from fantasy. It comes from presence, from being with someone not because they match your wounds, but because they respect your healing, not because they play a role in your unconscious myth, but because they see your truth and still choose to stay. Love without freedom is not love. You begin to recognize what love is by understanding what it is not. Love is not control. Love is not dependency. Love is not the fear of being alone masked as devotion. If you must lose yourself to be loved, it is not love. It is submission. If you must earn love through perfection, it is not love. It is performance. If you must bind the other to feel secure, it is not love. It is possession. Real love doesn't shackle. It expands. It says, I love you and you are free. And I love you more because you choose to stay freely. The new attraction, peace over passion. After you awaken from the cycle of projection, you start to notice something else. Your attraction changes. The people who once fascinated you, the emotionally unavailable, the chaotic, the savior types, no longer feel magnetic. Instead, you're drawn to people who feel safe. People who don't trigger your insecurity, but support your balance. People who don't feed your drama, but nurture your growth. At first, this may feel boring, because your nervous system is still used to adrenaline and crisis. But then it settles, and you realize, this is what I've been longing for all along. Not excitement, not intensity, but peace, presence, partnership. This is not a fairy tale. This is emotional adulthood. You become the love you were looking for. Jung taught that true transformation happens from within, that the task of life is not to find love, but to become love. Not love as dependency, but love as state of being. You become the person you once begged others to be for you. You hold your own hand in pain. You soothe your own anxiety in silence. You see your own worth without a mirror. And when someone enters your life, they are not your salvation. They are your companion. You don't ask them to save you. You walk together, side by side, not leaning, not pulling, just choosing each day to stay. Soulful relationships aren't based on need. One of the greatest misunderstandings about love is this. If I don't need you, does that mean I don't love you? No. It means your love is finally clean, free of fear, free of agenda. Need creates pressure. Pressure creates fear. Fear creates distance. But presence creates connection. And when you are fully present with yourself and with another, love becomes simple. Not easy, but real. So, why do people fall in love with you? Let's return to the question. Why do people fall in love with you? Jung would say, because you reflect something their soul is trying to integrate. You awaken a part of them that has been buried. You activate a forgotten image in their unconscious. You represent a step forward on their journey to wholeness. But here's the twist. You do the same. The people you love deeply, irrationally, painfully, they weren't mistakes. They were messengers. Some came to mirror your power. Some came to awaken your shadow. Some came to show you what you were still willing to tolerate and what you're not anymore. And even if they left, they still gave you something sacred, a step toward your true self. The final shift, from searching to sharing. When you stop looking for someone to complete you, you begin looking for someone to share your completeness with. And from that place, Love is no longer the goal. Love becomes the consequence, the byproduct of wholeness, the reward of integration, the reflection of who you've become. You stop asking, will they love me? You start asking, does this connection help me remain myself? And when the answer is yes, you've found not a soulmate, but something even more powerful, a space where both souls can breathe. Closing reflection. So now you know, love is not just romance. It is not just emotion. It is a mirror, a lesson, a path back to yourself. When someone falls in love with you, they are falling in love with what you symbolize, what you awaken, what they are ready to reclaim. And when you fall in love, don't ask what you can get. Ask what you are ready to see. Ask who you are becoming. Because in the end, the greatest love of your life was never another person. It was you. The version of you that stopped begging, stopped hiding, stopped shrinking. The version of you that no longer searches for love. Because you are love. And from there, everything changes.